Actually, it was a very complicated mission that took place from the 2nd of January till the 20th of January in many hideouts or strongholds of especially Al-Qaeda jihadis in southern Mali on the border region with Burkina Faso. We have to know that 3 armies were involved, so the French army with Barkhane, the Malian army, and the Burkinabe army. As you say, as French forces said, hundreds were killed of jihads, at least 100, but many explosives were seized, motorbikes. And we know that this operation happened just after the loss of 5 French military in Mali between the 28th of December and the 2nd of January, so the first day this operation started. The 5 were killed, the 5 French military were killed in this on the road between Gossi and Ombori, and the 2 last in Menaka, so the day that this operation started.
And we know that the French army has lost 50 troops in this conflict already. Talk us through the challenges that exist then for the French army.
They had many obstacles on the way because the jihadis resisted, of course. It was a harsh fight, and we know that on the 8th of January, so in the midst of this operation, 1 kamikaze was sent against a common convoy between Malian and French forces, and it was the French vehicle that obstructed him. He was very young kamikaze on a tricycle, on a motorbike with three wheels, and he prevented him from entering inside of the convoy because the Malian soldiers was only on 4x4 pickups, so they have made a big damage if he succeeded. And we know that after the end of the operations on the 20th, the jihadis were able to mount an operation on the 24th, attacking the military barracks, Mali military barracks of Boulkessi and Mondoro. The Malians resisted. They lost 6 soldiers, but we know too that French were able to send their helicopters very quickly, and that the Malians, sent their air force for the first time, their Tucano planes, in order to resist. So in comparison with the similar attack in 2019, where the Malian forces lost tens and tens of soldiers, here they resisted. And as the French chief of staff said, they have to have wins before this summit expected in few weeks. But the most important thing also in challenges is the civilian casualties. And we can see numbers. We see that between 2010 and 2020, civilian casualties are exploding, and we see that even civilian casualties caused by irregular actors like militias and state forces are even exceeding civilian killed by the jihadis. This is a very critical situation for the locals there, because at some times they are obliged to choose between Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State. And this is a new equation unfolding now in this border region. And we know that French forces, there was a hit in Bunti on the 2nd day of the Eclipse operation, where French and Malian forces said they hit jihadis, but locals say that the marriage was hit. And we know that the MINUSMA, so the United Nations forces, sent people to Bunti on the 25th in order to conduct and inspect to see which version is the good one, or if the truth is actually in between.
There is a huge human cost in places like Mali and Niger, that is sure. And for years now, France has really complained about being left alone to deal with this conflict, to deal with the rise in jihadists and terrorist groups. Is the United States going to get more involved under President Biden?
Well, actually, France is not quite alone, because we know that before the summit, there will be declarations of lesser French troops on the ground and more relying on the Takuba force, which is special forces, European special forces. We know that the Estonians are there, the Czech are there, and special forces from Sweden are coming there in the upcoming days. We know that today the Czech parliament ratified a protocol between Mali, France, and also Niger, giving them the possibility to act in all those 3 countries. We have the MINUSMA, the United Nations forces, where we have today British and German soldiers inside of the MINUSMA, and we know that they also had losses confronting jihadis from Ivory Coast, MINUSMA from Ivory Coast, from Bangladesh, from Egypt. They have losses on regular basis, but the Americans, to go back to your question, are really present, even if they don't talk about it a lot. I got to see some photographs of an American drone. Here we see it, a Grey Eagle, an attack drone, a surveillance drone with Hellfire missiles that had an emergency landing in Niger, showing that they are present, backing Barkhane. And if we go back to what the new Secretary of State Blinken said regarding his phone call with Jean-Yves Le Drian, Minister of Foreign Affairs, when he made the tweet about it, the first thing he mentioned was the Sahel region. So as you said at the beginning, America might have an emissary in the upcoming summit, but I guess that from what we see, and if we look at how diplomatically Blinken spoke about the Sahel, we can suspect more and more American involvement and more European involvement next to France.
Wassim,